From the jagged, snow-capped peaks of the great Andes Mountains to the rhythmic, thunderous crashing of the Pacific surf, Colombia stands as a realm where nature remains unbowed. It is a land etched in emerald and mist, a place where the air is thick with the scent of damp earth and the ancient secrets of the Amazon rainforest. Secrets. Here, life does not simply exist. It evolves, battles, and conquers with every sunrise. Can you feel the pulse of a world where the shadows breathe? In the deep tropical gloom, the jaguar moves like a ghost, silent as a final prayer. Above the canopy, the Harpy Eagle, the undisputed sovereign of the clouds, swatches with golden eyes, ready to strike with the force of a falling star. Below the leaf litter, an army of millions marches in terrifying unison, consuming everything in its path. This is not just a forest, it is a primal arena.
A sanctuary of natural selection in action, where every rainstorm is a trial, every creature a warrior, and every moment a story of wildlife survival instincts written in the language of survival. Welcome to the wild frontier of Colombia, where the heartbeat of the earth is still loud, raw, and utterly free. The first light of dawn filters through the heavy canopy of Colombia's wild frontier, but in the upper reaches of the rainforest, the air is already electric with tension. High above the forest floor, where the ancient ceiba trees pierce the clouds, a sound begins to swell. It is a low, guttural vibration that seems to shake the very leaves. This is the call of the howler monkey, a primitive ritual that has echoed through these valleys for millennia. To the untrained ear, it sounds like a gathering storm or the roar of a distant lion, but it is actually a complex social broadcast. Thanks to an enlarged, hollow hyoid bone in their throats, these primates can project their voices for over 3 miles, marking their territory without ever having to engage in a physical fight. For the howler family, life is a slow-motion dance among the branches. They are the leaf eaters of the heights, relying on a specialized digestive system to break down tough, fibrous greens.
They spend up to 15 hours a day in a state of quiet contemplation, resting and grooming one another to conserve energy. Their prehensile tails act as a fifth limb, gripping mossy branches with a strength that belies their gentle movements. But in the theater of natural selection in action, peace is always a fragile illusion. Even as the elders doze in the humid heat, the younger monkeys never stop scanning the horizon. They know that in the emerald vastness, silence is often the precursor to a strike. High above their heads, circling in a thermal current that remains invisible to those below, is a nightmare draped in feathers. The Harpy Eagle. With a wingspan stretching over 6 feet and talons larger than a grizzly bear's claws, she is the apex predator of the vertical world. While other eagles prefer the wide-open skies of the plains, the harpy is a master of the labyrinth. She navigates the claustrophobic tangle of the rainforest with the agility of a fighter jet, her short, broad wings allowing her to weave through branches at breathtaking speeds. Her eyes, twice as powerful as a human's, lock onto the slightest shimmer of fur amidst the leaves. The hunt is a masterpiece of wildlife survival instincts. There is no warning, no scream, only the sudden, violent rush of air as the great eagle tucks her wings and dives. In the canopy, the howler monkey's chatter stops instantly. The forest holds its breath. A mother monkey pulls her infant close to her chest, pressing her body against the trunk of a tree, hoping to become part of the bark. She knows that once those talons, capable of exerting several hundred pounds of pressure, lock onto their target, the story is over. This is the eternal tension of the Colombian heights. One creature finds strength in the power of its voice, the other in the perfection of its silence. As the Harpy Eagle disappears back into the mist, empty-handed this time. The howlers cautiously resume their positions. They have survived another hour in the Amazon rainforest. Secrets. But the lesson remains. In this world, vigilance is the only currency that matters. It is a reminder to us all that beneath the beauty of the wild lies a relentless demand for excellence. As we leave the emerald shadows of the mountains and move toward the northern edge of Colombia's wild frontier, the air changes. The humid scent of decaying leaves is replaced by the sharp, salt-tangled breeze of the Caribbean Sea. Here, the coastline isn't just a boundary between land and water. It is a sacred cradle for a journey that began long before the first human ever walked these shores. For over 100 million years, nearly twice the age of the great Andes Mountains, sea turtles have been returning to these specific stretches of sand to fulfill a primal promise. There is a profound mystery in how these creatures navigate. A female leatherback turtle, weighing nearly half a ton, spends decades roaming the vast, cold reaches of the North Atlantic. Yet, when the time comes to lay her eggs, she knows exactly where to go. Guided by an internal compass that feels the Earth's magnetic fields and a memory etched into her very DNA, she finds the exact beach where she was once born.
This is natural selection in action at its most poetica. Homecoming that spans thousands of miles and many years. Watching a mother turtle haul herself onto the beach under the pale light of a Colombian moon is a lesson in sheer willpower. Out of the water, she is heavy, clumsy, and vulnerable. Every inch of progress across the sand is a battle against gravity. She heaves her massive body forward with rhythmic, labored gasps, her flippers perfectly designed for the ocean, struggling to find purchase in the shifting grains. Once she finds a spot above the high tide line, the real work begins. With surgical precision, she uses her rear flippers to excavate a chamber in the sand. Inside this hidden sanctuary, she deposits up to 100 glowing white eggs, the future of her species. As she covers the nest and smooths the sand to disguise it from predators, there is an undeniable sense of exhaustion and maternal sacrifice. She will never see her children.
She leaves them to the warmth of the Caribbean sun and the mercy of fate, returning to the waves as the first light of dawn touches the horizon. Roughly 2 months later, the sand begins to stir. In a sudden eruption of life, dozens of tiny hatchlings emerge, no bigger than a silver dollar. Their first moments on Earth are a frantic race for survival, a true test of wildlife survival instincts. They must navigate a gauntlet of terrors: ghost crabs waiting in the shadows, vultures circling above, and the disorientation caused by artificial lights from nearby towns. To these tiny voyagers, the reflection of the moon on the water is their only map home. For many of us watching, it's hard not to feel a pang of anxiety for these little ones. In a world of changing climates and rising seas, their path is more treacherous than ever. Endangered species protection is no longer a choice. It is a necessity to ensure this ancient cycle isn't broken. Only 1 in 1,000 will survive to adulthood.
But those who do will carry the legacy of the Colombian coast within them, growing into the Magdalena River giants' saltwater cousins, eventually returning to this very spot to start the cycle anew. There is a quiet dignity in their struggle. It reminds us that life, no matter how small or fragile, possesses an innate drive to persist. As the last hatchling disappears into the surf, swallowed by the vast blue, we are left with a sense of wonder at the resilience of the wild.
Deep beneath the emerald canopy, where the sunlight barely touches the soil, a different kind of shadow begins to spread. It is not the shadow of a jaguar or an eagle, but a living, breathing carpet of teeth and mandibles. This is the march of the army ants, the most formidable nomadic force in Colombia's wild frontier. Unlike other insects, they do not build permanent fortresses. They are a civilization in constant motion, a river of biological hunger flowing through the Amazon rainforest secrets. When the colony moves, the forest floor transforms into a battlefield. Hundreds of thousands of individuals act as a single, terrifying superorganism. There is no central commander, yet their coordination is flawless, a chilling display of natural selection in action. They deploy in a massive fan formation, a tactical strike force that sweeps across the leaf litter, probing every hollow log, every crevice, and every bird's nest. For any creature unable to fly or run, the arrival of the swarm is a death sentence. The sheer scale of their ambition is staggering. Grasshoppers, spiders, and even large scorpions are overwhelmed by the sheer weight of numbers. A single ant is insignificant, but 100,000 are an unstoppable tide. They don't just bite, they dismantle. With mandibles like serrated shears, they bypass the defenses of their prey, injecting enzymes that begin to break down tissue even before the kill is complete. It is a grim but essential part of the wildlife's survival instincts that govern the jungle. They are the forest's ultimate cleaners, recycling life with a brutal efficiency that leaves the ecosystem renewed. At the heart of this moving blitzkrieg are the soldiers, monstrous specialists with oversized, sickle-shaped jaws, so large they cannot even feed themselves. Their only purpose is defense and destruction. They flank the main columns, ready to pierce the exoskeleton of any interloper. Behind them come the workers, the tireless porters of the empire, carrying larvae and fragments of prey with a singular focus that defies fatigue. Every movement is guided by a complex trail of pheromones, a chemical map that keeps the swarm unified, even in the chaotic darkness of a tropical storm. To witness this march is to understand the raw power of the collective. There is no mercy here, only the relentless drive to sustain the colony. For the elderly viewer watching from home, it's a scene that hits close to home, a reminder of the power of unity and the terrifying pace of the natural world. In the smoke of the humid air, as the swarm passes, the forest behind them is left eerily silent, stripped of its smaller inhabitants. Yet this carnage is not without purpose. The army ants prevent any one species of insect from dominating the forest floor, maintaining a delicate balance in the endangered species protection efforts of Mother Nature herself. They are the architects of chaos, ensuring that only the swiftest and most adaptable survive. As the column disappears into the thick ferns, headed toward their next temporary bivouac, one cannot help but feel a mixture of horror and profound respect. In the world of Colombia's wild frontier, size does not dictate power. Discipline and unity do. While the army ants rule through terror and movement, another empire thrives just a few yards away, built on the foundations of industry and profound cooperation. In the dappled sunlight of Colombia's wild frontier, a strange green parade is underway. Across the forest floor, thousands of vibrant green fragments appear to be moving on their own. Upon closer inspection, these are the sails of the leafcutter ants, the world's first and most sophisticated farmers. These are not hunters. They are architects of a complex underground civilization that rivals our own in its organization. A single colony can contain millions of individuals, divided into castes specialized for everything from defense to waste management. It is a masterpiece of natural selection in action. The medium-sized workers are the foragers, scaling trees dozens of feet high to vibrate their mandibles like high-speed saws, slicing perfect semicircles from the foliage. Watching them carry loads up to 20 times their own body weight back to the nest is a staggering display of wildlife survival instincts and raw physical strength. But the most fascinating secret of the leafcutter ant lies deep beneath the soil, in a labyrinthine fortress that can reach 30 feet underground. To the surprise of many, these ants do not eat the leaves they harvest. Instead, they use the greenery as fertilizer for a subterranean garden. Deep within their chambers, they cultivate a specific type of fungus, a delicate white organism that exists nowhere else in nature. The ants clean the leaves, chew them into a pulp, and plant the fungus on this organic bed. In return, the fungus produces tiny, nutrient-rich fruiting bodies that serve as the sole food source for the entire colony. This is the ultimate expression of symbiosis in the Amazon rainforest's secrets.
The ants cannot survive without their fungus, and the fungus cannot survive without the ants to feed, clean, and protect it. Within the nest, smaller minims, or nurse ants, spend their entire lives tending to the fungal gardens and grooming the queen, while massive soldiers with heads like armored bunkers stand guard at the entrances. For the American viewer, especially those who appreciate the rewards of hard work and community, the leafcutter ant is a symbol of tireless dedication. Their society is built on a circular economy that has sustained them for over 50 million years. They are also vital to endangered species protection in an indirect way by pruning the canopy and aerating the soil with their massive tunnels. They encourage new growth and maintain the health of the Colombian ecosystem. They turn the forest's waste into life, proving that even the smallest creatures can be the most influential landscapers on Earth.
As the sun begins to dip below the canopy, the emerald highway of leaves continues its steady march. Each leaf is a promise to the next generation, a testament to a world where cooperation is just as powerful as competition. In the quiet industry of these tiny farmers, we find a reflection of the resilience that defines Colombia's wild frontier. To understand the soul of Colombia's wild frontier, one must first understand the rain. In the Choco region, the sky does not simply open, it dissolves. Here the heavens pour down over 400 inches of water every year, making this one of the wettest places on the planet. This is not a weather pattern, it is a life-giving deluge that has sculpted the landscape for millions of years. This relentless moisture is the result of a monumental geological collision. When the great Andes Mountains began their slow tectonic ascent 65 million years ago, they created a colossal wall of rock. This barrier traps the humid air blowing in from the Pacific, forcing it upward until it cools, condenses, and collapses back to Earth in a never-ending cycle of storms. This wall of water has created what scientists call a biological pressure cooker. In the heat and humidity, life doesn't just grow, explodes. The rainforest here is a green cathedral, a multi-layered masterpiece of architectural biology. From the forest floor to the emergent layer 100 feet above, every square inch is occupied. Giant saber and mahogany trees stand like ancient pillars, their buttress roots anchoring them in the sodden soil. But look closer at their trunks, and you will see a world within a world. In the Amazon rainforest, secrets. The trees themselves are hosts to an incredible array of hitchhikers. Epiphytes, plants like orchids, bromeliads, and ferns, grow high in the canopy, never touching the ground. They don't steal nutrients from their hosts. Instead, they drink directly from the mist and trap falling debris in their leaves, creating tiny, high-altitude ponds. These aerial oases are essential for endangered species protection, providing homes for miniature frogs and insects that never descend to the dark forest floor. This is natural selection in action at its most creative, where plants have evolved to live in the sky, to escape the shadow of the giants below. Beneath the canopy, the light is filtered into a dim, emerald haze. Here, the air is still and heavy, smelling of moss and ancient growth. Lianas, thick, woody, vines spiral upwards like DNA strands, binding the forest together in a tangled web. On the ground, the cycle of life is accelerated. A fallen leaf doesn't last a week before it is reclaimed by a neon-colored fungus or a legion of microbes, turning death back into the fuel of life. This rapid recycling is the cornerstone of wildlife survival instincts. For the forest itself, in a place where the rain constantly washes away nutrients, the speed of rebirth is the only way to sustain such a massive biomass. For the American observer, there is a profound sense of humility in this landscape. It is a reminder of a time when the world was raw and untamed. But this paradise is fragile. The very rain that gives life also makes the land vulnerable to erosion when trees are cleared. Protecting these water towers of the Andes is not just about saving trees. It's about preserving the heartbeat of the entire South American continent. As the mist rolls through the valleys, veiling the peaks of the great Andes Mountains, one realizes that this is a world that belongs to the clouds, and we are merely silent witnesses to its emerald glory. If the rain is the soul of Colombia's wild frontier, then the birds are its voice. In this corner of the world, nature has discarded its modesty and embraced a palette of colors so vivid they seem painted by a divine hand. With over 1,970 recorded species, more than any other nation on Earth, Colombia is the undisputed capital of the avian world. From the misty heights of the great Andes Mountains to the steaming lowlands of the Choco, every branch and breeze is occupied by a feathered masterpiece. This is a realm where natural selection in action has prioritized the spectacular, turning survival into an art form. Among the most iconic residents of the Amazon rainforest secrets is the keel-billed toucan. With a beak that looks like a tropical sunset streaked with lemon yellow, lime green, and fiery orange, the toucan is the playful ambassador of the canopy. To the casual observer, that massive beak looks heavy and cumbersome, but it is a marvel of evolutionary engineering. It is a hollow lattice of bone and keratin, light as a feather, yet incredibly strong. This specialized tool allows the toucan to reach fruits on branches too thin to support its weight, and acts as a sophisticated radiator to regulate body temperature in the humid heat. Watching a pair of toucans toss berries to one another in a rhythmic game of catch is a reminder of the complex social bonds and wildlife survival instincts that thrive in the heights. But if the toucan is the vibrant jester of the forest, the resplendent quetzal is its silent deity. To see a quetzal in the wild is not just bird-watching, it is a spiritual encounter. Draped in iridescent emerald feathers that shimmer like liquid jewels, with a chest as red as a beating heart, the quetzal embodies the mystery of the cloud forests. For the indigenous cultures of Colombia, this bird was sacred, a symbol of freedom and the spirit of the sky. Its twin tail feathers, which can grow up to 3 feet long, trail behind it in flight like emerald ribbons caught in the wind. The quetzal's existence is tied to the preservation of ancient laurel trees. They are picky eaters, relying on the wild avocado-like fruits of the high-altitude forests. By swallowing these fruits whole, and later dispersing the large seeds across the mountainside, the quetzal acts as a vital gardener. This is a perfect example of why endangered species protection is so critical. When we lose the bird, we lose the forest's ability to replant itself. For the American viewer, who may find peace in the quiet morning song of a backyard robin, the sheer auditory and visual scale of Colombia's birds is a sensory awakening. It is a world of constant motion, of tiny hummingbirds with wings beating 80 times a second, and massive macaws screaming in defiance against the storm. In the Amazon rainforest, secrets. Every song is a territorial map, every flash of color a romantic invitation. As the afternoon sun hits the mist, lighting up the iridescent feathers of a passing tanager, we are reminded that beauty is a survival strategy. In the wild frontier of Colombia, to be seen and to be heard is to be alive.
These birds are the living fragments of a paradise we are only beginning to understand, and their survival is a testament to the enduring majesty of our natural world.
In the deep, narrow ravines of the great Andes Mountains, where the roar of waterfalls drowns out almost every other sound, a flash of fire erupts from the grey mist. This is the Andean cock off the rock, a bird so brilliantly orange it looks like a glowing coal against the dark, moss-covered cliffs. For most of the year, these birds are shadows in the undergrowth. But when the breeding season arrives, the forest floor becomes a stage for one of the most intense competitions in natural selection in action. The males gather at a leka, specific neutral ground in the forest, where they compete for the attention of females. Imagine a natural amphitheater, where dozens of males, dressed in their finest crimson and orange plumage, perform a frantic, synchronized dance. They don't just sing, they perform a full-body ritual. They bob their heads, displaying their strange, fan-shaped crests that almost entirely hide their beaks. They snap their bills, emit guttural squawks, and jump from branch to branch with an energy that seems to defy the thin mountain air. This is a high-stakes audition. While the males scream and dance in a chaotic display of wildlife survival instincts, the females sit silently in the shadows. Drab and camouflaged in earthy browns and greys, the females are the ultimate judges. They watch with a critical eye, looking for the male with the most vibrant color, the loudest call, and the most stamina. In the world of Colombia's wild frontier, beauty is not a luxury. It is a signal of health, strength, and genetic superiority. Once a female makes her choice, the partnership is brief. Unlike many other bird species, the cock of the rock does not form long-term pairs. After mating, the male returns to his lek to continue his dance, while the female takes on the entire responsibility of the next generation. She builds a nest of mud and saliva tucked away on a sheltered rock ledge, often near water to keep the nest cool and protected from predators. It is a grueling, solitary task that highlights the quiet resilience of the species. For the American viewer, the story of the cock of the rock is a fascinating look at the theatrical side of nature. It reminds us that even in the most remote corners of the Amazon rainforest, life is governed by rules of attraction and performance. However, these vibrant dancers are highly sensitive to their environment. They rely on pristine cloud forests and undisturbed rocky outcrops. As human activity creeps closer to these hidden ravines, endangered species protection becomes paramount to ensure the music of the lek doesn't fall silent. The cock of the rock is more than just a bird. It is a symbol of the untamed spirit of the Andes. When you see that flash of orange through the morning fog, you aren't just seeing a creature. You are witnessing a million-year-old tradition of survival, passion, and the relentless pursuit of life. Between the continents of North and South America lies a bridge made of emerald and shadow, the Darien Gap. This is a place where the Pan-American Highway simply stops, swallowed by a vast, roadless expanse of swamps and mountains. For many, it is a blank spot on the map, but in Colombia's wild frontier, Darien is a vibrant sanctuary for some of the world's most intelligent and charismatic inhabitants. Here, amidst the tangled vines and ancient hardwoods, the canopy is alive with the chatter of a society that thrives on wit and cooperation. The most frequent travelers of these highways in the sky are the squirrel monkeys, small enough to fit in a human palm, with faces that look like delicate white masks. These primates are the acrobats of the Amazon rainforest. Secrets. Unlike the solitary predators of the jungle, squirrel monkeys find strength in numbers, living in boisterous troops of up to 100 individuals. Their lives are a constant whirl of activity, a never-ending quest for insects and ripe fruit. Watching them move in a synchronized flow through the trees
is a stunning display of wildlife survival instincts. They navigate the dizzying heights with an ease that makes the world below seem irrelevant. But if the squirrel monkeys provide the energy of the forest, the capuchin monkeys provide the intellect. Often called the brains of the jungle, the white-faced capuchin is a master of innovation. In the theater of natural selection in action, the capuchin has taken a different path: tool use. These monkeys have been observed using stones to crack open hard nuts and rubbing medicinal plants on their fur to repel insects. Their bright, searching eyes reveal a level of curiosity and problem-solving that hits close to home for any human observer.
They live in complex social hierarchies, where knowledge is passed down from elders to the young, a cultural heritage that has sustained them for generations in the Colombian wild. Deep within the more isolated pockets of the Darien and the northwestern forests, we find the jewels of the primate world. The pygmy marmoset, the smallest monkey on Earth, clings to the trunks of trees like a tiny, furry lizard. Weighing no more than a stick of butter, it uses specialized teeth to gouge holes in the bark, feeding on the sweet sap that leaks out. Nearby, you might catch a glimpse of the cotton-top tamarin, a species found nowhere else but Colombia. With its shock of white hair resembling a miniature Einstein, the tamarin is a symbol of both the wonder and the fragility of this ecosystem. Tragically, these intelligent beings are on the front line of endangered species protection. The cotton-top tamarin, in particular, has seen its habitat shrink to a fraction of its original size. For the American viewer, especially the older generation who has seen the world change so rapidly, the plight of these small primates is a call to conscience. To lose the cotton-top tamarin is to lose a unique piece of Earth's living history. In the Darien Gap, every branch is a classroom, and every troop a family. Their survival depends on the continuity of the Foresta green corridor that allows them to roam, learn, and flourish. As the capuchins call out to one another through the fading evening light, we are reminded that intelligence is not a human monopoly. It is a gift that nature has scattered throughout the canopy of Colombia's wild frontier. To understand the heart of Colombia, one must follow the water. Emerging from the high Paramo of the great Andes Mountains, the Magdalena River carves its way through the landscape like a massive, coffee-colored artery. Stretching nearly 1,000 miles toward the Caribbean Sea, this is more than just a river. It is the Rio Grande of South America, a vital highway that has nurtured civilizations and wildlife for millennia. In the context of Colombia's wild frontier, the Magdalena is the lifeblood that connects the rugged peaks to the steaming lowlands, carrying with it the nutrients that fuel an entire subcontinent. As the river winds its way through the valleys, it creates a mosaic of wetlands known as cienagas. These sprawling, mirror-like lagoons are a critical theater for natural selection in action. Here, the water is thick with sediment and mystery. Below the surface, a hidden world of Magdalena River giants thrives. This is the realm of the giant catfish and the prehistoric-looking manatee gentle giants that graze on aquatic grasses like underwater cows. For the local communities who have lived on these banks for generations, the river is a provider, a source of myth, and a constant reminder of the raw power of nature. The banks of the Magdalena are a sensory feast. In the early morning mist, you can hear the rhythmic plop of the capybara, the world's largest rodent, as it slips into the water to escape the heat. These social creatures are the unsung heroes of the riverbanks, grazing on the lush grasses and providing a vital link in the food chain. Their wildlife survival instincts are finely tuned to the pulse of the river. They move with the seasons, retreating to the deep forest during the floods and returning to the sandy banks when the water recedes. But the Magdalena is also a place of strange and unexpected encounters. Because it cuts through so many different ecosystems, it acts as a biological crossroads. You might see a troop of monkeys crossing a narrow tributary, or an ancient caiman basking on a mudflat, its armored skin blending perfectly with the river's silt. This diversity is why endangered species protection along the Magdalena corridor is so vital. The river doesn't just support the animals that live in it. It sustains the forests, the birds, and the millions of people who depend on its flow. For many Americans, especially those who grew up along the Great Mississippi or the Missouri, the story of the Magdalena resonates with a familiar American spirit, the story of a river that defines a nation's identity. But unlike the tamed rivers of the north, the Magdalena remains a wild and unpredictable force. Its floods are legendary, reshaping the land and renewing the soil in a cycle of destruction and rebirth that is as old as the great Andes Mountains themselves.
In recent years, the river has faced new challenges: pollution, deforestation, and the introduction of invasive species. Yet, its spirit remains unbowed. As the sun sets over the water, turning the brown surface into a sheet of liquid gold, we are reminded of the river's enduring patience. It has seen the rise and fall of empires, and it continues to flow, a silent witness to the beauty and the struggle of Colombia's wild frontier. The Magdalena is not just a destination. It is a journey through the very soul of the wild. In the quiet backwaters of the Magdalena River, a massive dark shape breaks the surface. For a moment, you might think you are on the banks of the Nile or the Zambezi. But this is South America, thousands of miles from the African savanna. This is the realm of the cocaine hippos, perhaps the most bizarre legacy of the infamous drug lord Pablo Escobar. In the 1980s, 4 hippos were brought to his private estate, Hacienda Nápoles. After his fall in 1993, the animals were left to fend for themselves. What happened next is a masterclass in natural selection in action, albeit in a world where they have no natural enemies. In their native Africa, hippos are kept in check by long droughts and predators like lions or crocodiles that can take down their young. But here, in the lush, ever-wet paradise of Colombia's wild frontier, they have found a literal Eden. With no dry season to stress them, and an endless supply of nutritious tropical grasses, these Magdalena River giants are breeding at twice the rate they do in Africa. Today, their population has exploded to over 150 individuals, making them the largest herd of hippopotamuses outside of the African continent. Watching a Threaten bull hippo emerge from the Magdalena at dusk is a sight of raw, terrifying power. They are deceptively fast and notoriously territorial. For the local fishing communities, these invaders have become a part of daily life and a source of constant danger. Unlike the native capybara, which flees at the slightest sign of trouble, a hippo will stand its ground, or worse, charge. Their presence has fundamentally altered the river's ecosystem. Their massive amounts of waste are changing the oxygen levels in the water, affecting native fish species and the delicate balance of the Amazon rainforest. Secrets. For the American viewer, the story of Colombia's hippos is a complex moral puzzle. On one hand, they are magnificent creatures, displaying incredible wildlife survival instincts in a land that was never meant for them. Some locals have even grown to love them, seeing them as a unique tourist attraction. On the other hand, conservationists see them as a biological time bomb. As they expand their territory further down the river, they threaten endangered species protection for native animals like the West Indian manatee and the neotropical otter. This is a story of nature's unintended consequences. It reminds us that when we move the pieces of the global ecosystem for our own vanity, the results are rarely predictable. The hippos didn't ask to be here, yet they have claimed the Magdalena as their own, thriving in a world of endless rain and green abundance.
They are now a permanent, albeit controversial, fixture of the landscape, a reminder that in the wild, the line between native and invader can blur over time. As the hippo's guttural bellows echo across the river at sunset, joining the calls of the howler monkeys and the macaws, we are left to wonder about the future of this new Africa in the heart of the Andes. It is a testament to the sheer resilience of life, even when it is out of place. In the deepest corridors of Colombia's wild frontier, where the humidity clings to the skin like a wet shroud, there is a silence that feels heavy. It is the silence of a predator that does not need to roar to prove its power. Suddenly, a pair of golden eyes ignites within the shadows. This is the jaguar, the lord of the night and the ultimate apex predator of the Amazon rainforest. Secrets. While the lions of Africa rule the open plains with pride and noise, the jaguar rules the labyrinth of the jungle with a chilling, solitary precision. The jaguar is a masterpiece of natural selection in action. Its coat, a canvas of golden yellow punctuated by complex black rosettes, is the perfect camouflage for the dappled light of the forest floor. But what truly sets the Colombian jaguar apart from all other big cats is its extraordinary relationship with water. Unlike the common house cat or even its cousin, the leopard, the jaguar is an elite swimmer. It doesn't just tolerate the river, it embraces it. In the floodplains of the Magdalena and the swamps of the Choco, the jaguar is a lethal amphibious force. Watching a jaguar hunt is like watching a ghost move through the water. It can cross a 100-yard river with barely a ripple, its muscular shoulders gliding beneath the surface. Its target? Often the capybara, or even the armored caiman. The jaguar possesses the strongest bite of all big cats relative to its size. Its wildlife survival instincts have evolved a unique killing technique. Instead of suffocating its prey by the throat, it uses its massive canines to pierce the skull or the thick hide of a reptile, delivering an instant, merciful end. This raw power is why the jaguar has been worshipped as a god by indigenous cultures for thousands of years. For the American viewer, the jaguar represents the untamable spirit of the New World. It is a creature of mystery, a sentinel of the wilderness that requires vast, undisturbed territories to survive. This is where endangered species protection becomes a race against time. As the jaguar corridors, the vital paths these cats use to travel between forest fragments, are cut by roads and farms, the genetic health of the species is at risk. Protecting the jaguar isn't just about saving one animal. It's about saving the entire umbrella of life that exists beneath its reign. The jaguar is a bioindicator of a healthy ecosystem. Where there is a jaguar, there is balance. They keep the populations of herbivores in check, ensuring that the Amazon rainforest's secrets are not overgrazed and that the cycle of rebirth continues. Yet, despite their power, they are rarely seen. A jaguar can be 10 feet away from you in the thick brush, and you would never know it. They are the silent guardians of the Colombian spirit, moving through the mist of the great Andes Mountains and the shadows of the riverbanks like a living myth. As the moon rises over the jungle, the jaguar's low, rasping calla sound like a saw cutting through wood echoes through the trees. It is a reminder that even in a world increasingly dominated by humans, there are still places where a wilder, more ancient power holds sway. To look into the eyes of a jaguar is to look into the heart of Colombia's wild frontier itself, beautiful, dangerous, and utterly sovereign. In the vast, sun-drenched savannas that fringe the edges of Colombia's wild frontier, the grass moves in a way that feels ancient. Emerging from the shimmering heat haze is a silhouette that seems to belong to another geological epoch. This is the giant anteater, a creature that looks like a surrealist's dream. With its elongated snout, a bushy tail that resembles a giant feather, and a lumbering gait, it is one of the most specialized mammals in the Amazon rainforest secrets. The giant anteater is a master of a very specific trade. Evolution has stripped it of teeth, replacing them with a tool far more efficient for its diet, a 2-foot-long, whip-like tongue coated in sticky saliva. In a display of incredible wildlife survival instincts, it can flick this tongue in and out up to 160 times per minute, vacuuming up thousands of ants and termites in seconds. But it is not a mindless glutton. It never destroys a nest completely. By leaving the colony partially intact, the anteater ensures its food source will replenish a natural lesson in sustainability that has allowed it to survive since the Pleistocene. But don't let its slow movements fool you. Hidden within its front paws are 4-inch claws as sharp as scythes. When threatened by a jaguar, the anteater doesn't run. It stands on its hind legs, using its massive tail for balance, and prepares to deliver a lethal embrace. It is a reminder that in natural selection in action, even the most peaceful-looking creatures possess a fierce will to live. Sharing this ancient landscape is another survivor clad in plate armor, the armadillo, or tattoo, as known locally. If the anteater is the forest's vacuum, the armadillo is its armored tank. Covered in a series of bony, overlapping plates, it is a biological marvel of endangered species protection provided by nature itself. These plates are not just for show. They are tough enough to deflect the bite of a predator and flexible enough to allow the animal to scurry through the densest thorn bushes of the Colombian plains. The armadillo is a relentless excavator. Its powerful front limbs are designed for one thing: digging. Whether it's searching for grubs or creating a complex underground burrow, the armadillo reshapes the earth beneath it. These burrows are essential to the ecosystem, providing abandoned shelters for dozens of other species, from burrowing owls to small reptiles. In the scorching heat of the Llanos, these underground cool rooms are literal lifesavers. For the American viewer, the armadillo might feel like a familiar neighbor from the south. But here in Colombia, they reach sizes and varieties that are truly spectacular. They represent a lineage that has remained largely unchanged for millions of years, witnessing the rise and fall of the great Andes Mountains. Their survival is a testament to the "if it ain't broke, don't fix it" philosophy of evolution. As the sun sets, casting long, dramatic shadows over the savanna, these prehistoric wanderers continue their quiet work. They are the living links to a world that existed long before humans, moving through Colombia's wild frontier with a steady, unhurried purpose. In their strange beauty, we find the enduring strength of the wild, a resilience that has weathered ice ages and extinction events alike. The air in Colombia's wild frontier is changing. Beneath the ancient songs of the birds and the rhythmic pulse of the rivers, a new and discordant sound is rising. The high-pitched whine of chainsaws and the heavy thud of falling giants. In the last few decades, the sanctuary we have explored has begun to fracture. Each year, tens of thousands of acres of pristine forest are lost, stripped away to make room for vast plantations of oil palm, bananas, and the illicit cultivation of coca. When these trees fall, it's not just the wood that is lost. It's the ancestral memories of the Amazon rainforest, secrets, and the complex web of life that depends on them. This is the grim side of natural selection in action. Not a natural evolution, but a forced extinction caused by human hand. As the forests are cleared, the soil, once held firm by the roots of giant ceibas, begins to wash away under the relentless tropical rains.
This erosion chokes the rivers with silt, threatening the Magdalena river giants and the fragile ecosystems of the wetlands. In the mountains, illegal mining for gold and platinum leaves behind a poisoned legacy. The mercury used in these operations seeps into the groundwater, silent and deadly, moving up the food chain from the smallest fish to the majestic jaguar. Compounding these local threats is the global shadow of climate change. The once predictable rains of the Choco are becoming erratic. Some regions are being drowned by unprecedented floods, while others, accustomed to constant moisture, are facing devastating droughts that leave the cloud forests parched and brown. For specialized species like the Andean cock-off-the-rock or the tiny cotton-top tamarin, these shifts are catastrophic. Their wildlife survival instincts, honed over millions of years, are being outpaced by the sheer speed of environmental change. For our American audience, who have seen their own wilderness areas transform, these stories hit close to home. But in the smoke of the burning brush, there is a glimmer of resilience. Across Colombia, a new generation of forest guardians is rising. Local communities, who once relied on the forest for timber, are now becoming its fiercest protectors. They are leading endangered species protection initiatives, creating biological corridors that allow animals to migrate safely between fragmented habitats. From the high peaks of the Great Andes Mountains to the coastal mangroves, reforestation projects are planting millions of native trees. Scientists are working with farmers to promote sustainable agriculture that lives in harmony with the jungle rather than replacing it. These efforts represent a shift in our understanding. We are not the masters of this wild frontier, but its stewards. The survival of the jaguar, the toucan, and the ancient armadillo is inextricably linked to our own. The battle for Colombia's soul is far from over. It is a race against time, greed, and indifference. But as long as the mist still clings to the mountains and the river still flows to the sea, there is hope. Every hectare protected, every species saved, is a victory for the planet. In the quiet determination of a researcher tracking a jaguar or a child planting a tree, we see the true spirit of Colombia's wild frontiera spirit that refuses to break, even when the world feels like it's closing in. Our journey through Colombia's wild frontier draws to a close, but the echoes of this land do not fade easily. We have stood in the shadow of the great Andes Mountains, witnessed the silent strike of the Harpy Eagle, and felt the ancient pulse of the Magdalena River giants. This is a world that reminds us of what the earth once was, a place of raw, unscripted beauty, where every breath is earned and every sunset is a triumph of wildlife survival instincts. But as we have seen, this paradise is not an island. It is a fragile masterpiece, woven together by threads of rain, mist, and the tireless labor of creatures both great and small. From the jaguar prowling the riverbanks to the leafcutter ant tending its subterranean farm, every inhabitant of the Amazon rainforest secrets plays a role in a symphony that has played for millions of years. When one thread is broken, the entire tapestry begins to unravel. For those watching from thousands of miles away, it might feel like a distant dream. But the air we breathe, the climate that sustains us, and the very spirit of wonder that makes us human are all tied to the health of these forests. Protecting Colombia's wilderness is not merely an act of charity. It is an act of self-preservation. It is a promise to the next generation that they, too, will be able to hear the roar of the howler monkey and marvel at the iridescent flight of the quetzal. In the smoke of the modern world, it is easy to forget our connection to the wild. Yet, the resilience of Colombia's wild frontier offers us a powerful lesson.
Life finds a way. Even in the face of daunting challenges, the green cathedral continues to rise, driven by a primal force that refuses to be silenced. We invite you to be part of this story, whether through supporting endangered species protection or simply sharing the wonder of these wild places. Your voice matters. Nature does not need us to rule it. It needs us to remember how to live alongside it. Thank you for journeying with us through the untamed heart of Colombia. If this story moved you, please consider subscribing and sharing this film to help spread the message of conservation. Let us ensure that the wild places of our world remain wild forever. Until our next journey, keep the spirit of the wilderness alive in your heart.